This conference will now be recorded.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah, exactly. I keep forgetting to. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that alarm. But you got. Do we have 2 minutes?
Well, they said that there's.
We got 2 minutes. I keep forgetting to get that baby girl. I think there we go. Add a little bit of soda to it. He's gonna sneak it in on.
Becky's not gonna be here.
Oh, yeah. Rhiannon?
Yeah, you got a sick son.
What's that? She said she was gonna call him virtually, but I think she's on. Well, she's still got a minute or 2 minutes.
I'll take her.
She's on it.
Yeah, did he?
No, to Vegas or to his kids?
Well, I think it's kids listening. I leave it here. At least one of them.
Are you going to
The older one?
Councilwoman Foster, can you hear us? It's showing up that your mic is muted. Before we get rolling, if for anybody that would like to speak during the public comment portions of the meeting, we have a sign-up sheet in the back with also some guidelines for that public comment portion. You're more than welcome to sign up if you've got something you'd like to say to council. Very good. All right, we'll call this meeting to order. We'll begin with the prayer and pledge of allegiance. We have Mayor Pro Tem Bogus will lead us in the prayer.
Father, we thank you first and foremost for allowing us to come together for this council meeting tonight. We ask for blessing over our city police, fire, and ambulance departments. We ask that you give the city council, mayor, and city administrator the knowledge to make decisions tonight that will help us to continue in a positive way. As we continue into this season of your birth, we say, please continue to lead, guide, and protect all of us. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Robinson. Yes. Oldham. Here. Marshall. Here. Bogus.
Here.
Tiller. Here. Cross. Here. Foster.
Here.
And Bliss. Here.
Okay, first item of business is a public hearing regarding the FY 2023-2024 strategic plan and budget. We'll go ahead and open that public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to make public comment regarding that budget? Having heard none, we'll close the hearing. Next item is public hearing regarding the designation of the George R. Smith College site as a historic landmark. Community Development Director Simmons, do you have some words to add to this?
Well, I thought what we do at this portion in the public hearing is introduce where we're going to designate this landmark for you to vote in later on in the meeting for an ordinance on this. This came through the Sedalia Historic Preservation Commission as a city led initiative. I believe Councilwoman Bogus, you said, hey, let's get this done.
Let's
So,
do this.
the Preservation Commission recommended approval of the landmark status to the Planning and Zoning Commission, who then had to take it up through the way our city ordinances work, and it came from them with a recommendation to you to approve the landmark. The site is actually on Saline Pettis, where they meet and bend at the railroad, by the railroad spur. So there's a tree right there. So what the plan is to put up a landmark. Kelvin, I think you have a picture of the landmark sign that will be posted there, and I think the plan is also to put up a bench there. I do have some testimony from Rhonda Chalfant in favor of the nomination, and do you want me to read what she said in that real quick? It's pretty poignant and kind of points out why this is important. This is from Rhonda. It was dated today at 2:45 p.m. She says, quote, as an historian who has studied Sedalia history, including the history of its Black community, I heartily endorse the plans by the City Council to place an historic marker at the site of George R. Smith College. Established by the Freedmen's Bureau of the Methodist Episcopal Church North and established on land given by Sarah Smith Cotton and Martha Smith and named in honor of their father, Sedalia founder George R. Smith, the college was important to both Sedalia's Black and white citizens during the time of its existence in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The college drew students from across the state and beyond to Sedalia to attend college. It advertised in newspapers across the state that it offered prospective Black students the opportunity to have a college education in a variety of academic fields, and that they could work to pay for their education. It placed press releases about its activities in the newspapers of towns from which students came, making sure their readers knew of the college and of Sedalia. The college educated teachers, ministers, business people, scholars, musicians, and a variety of tradespeople. Its sports teams were winners. One of its athletes moved on to play baseball in the Negro Leagues, again bringing recognition to Sedalia. The students and faculty supported the local economy when they came to town to make purchases at the local stores. Its faculty members paid local taxes. It was supported by the local Methodist Episcopal Church North, now First United Methodist Church, one of whose members helped students plant trees on its campus. When the college burned, local churches and residents of both the Black and white communities implored the ME Church North to rebuild the college. Its loss was a blow to Sedalia, particularly to the Black students and prospective students. The college should be honored with a marker noting its location and recognizing its importance to Sedalia and the important role it played in Black education. Thank you for consideration. Rhonda Chalfant, PhD, Vice President of Sedalia Pettis County Branch, NAACP, Vice President of the Pettis County Historical Society. So, as you saw earlier, the marker also notes 4 distinguished alumni from the college. Myrtle Craig Mowbray. She was the first African-American woman to graduate from Michigan State University, 1907. John Wesley Donaldson, that was the baseball player for the Kansas City Monarchs. He had some strikeout records. Scott Joplin, of course, and T. Manuel Smith, and he was president of the National Medical Association in 42 and 43. With that, I'll lead you to it.
Thank you, Director Simmons. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to comment regarding this? Having heard none, we'll close the public hearing. Next item of business is the approval of the council meeting minutes dated December 5th, 2022.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the acceptance of the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes dated November 2nd, 2022.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Now we have the roll call of standing committees. Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
We have a presentation from the Sedalia Pettis County Emergency Management Agency. I suppose we do. Tricia, I got to start. I don't think I met you. Anyway, we have that, and then we have a presentation by the Chief of Police.
Well, good evening. My name is Tricia Rodak. I'm the Director of the Emergency Management Agency, and I also have a part-time Deputy Director, Erin Massini. Some of you have met her, some of you have not. And I have about 10 slides. I talk fast, I'll try to slow down, and I'll take questions at the end. So what is emergency management? A lot of people know me because of the weather, but emergency management is a coordinated effort. It involves local, state, and federal agencies, as well as your volunteer organizations and businesses. What we want to do is we want to assist all the citizens in their communities, because we want them to be able to prepare for, respond to, recover from, and eliminate or reduce the effects of a natural or civil technological emergency or disaster. And so why do we have emergency management? There is a state statute, Chapter 44, for our organization. A lot of that came after 9/11. So we have a lot of EMA goals. And one thing to remember is any disaster, if it's small or it's big, it's going to start local and it's going to end local, no matter what agencies are involved with the state or federal government. And so it's really, really important to have created and enhanced all those partnerships within our own community as well as states. We don't want to be meeting on scene the first time and never meeting each other. So what we do is we go through other partnerships and local jurisdictions. We really seek out private sectors and volunteer organizations and the citizens, because we want our citizens to be prepared. Because if your citizen is prepared, you're going to have a more resilient community. So they have to have stuff at home done so they can get to work faster. We develop a lot of emergency plans for the county, and we also have to add to with the state plans as well. And we facilitate a lot of training that's a need in our county, and we conduct a lot of different exercises in our county. We facilitate community recovery and operations and programs following the impact of a natural or man disaster. Our EMA in the community in 2022, I just did a real glance of I just highlighted some topics that we did this year. What is important to build our resilience towards our hazards within our community. So we go to a lot of different facilities that request it. We'll do walkthroughs with an emergency plan. Sometimes they ask us for the opinion, are we doing this right? Where should our safe room be? And we hit on Nucor, Pro Energy, and Sacred Heart. We also conducted an active shooter tabletop for Sedalia 200 School District, and there was a lot of first responders there, and that was at the Earlyhood Child Development Center. We also worked with the Pettis Healthcare Coalition, and what that is it's a coalition, and it's a lot of our assisted living people. It's our nursing homes, so they come to those meetings. And so we did a regional exercise, and then we brought it back to our county to see how they were doing with our vulnerable population. Developed a ChemPack plan for Region A, and a ChemPack plan was like this secret container that had a lot of different stuff. It could have organophosphate, I might have pronounced that wrong, but agriculture for pesticides, and it was a handful of people that knew about the ChemPack plan, but there wasn't an actual plan for it. So the state approached me and said, hey, we don't have a plan for our region, and so they kind of used us as a test. We got the plan up and going, so we met. We went through it, like how is this actually going to work, and the state liked it so much that they took it back to the state, and there were a lot of other regions are using that plan. And what it is it has stuff, if your first responders were going to go on scene, it's what is in that package. If it's anthrax or if it's something agriculture, it's for your first responders to take it. Or if there is an incident and there's a hospital somewhere, we could restock theirs. And not every county has a ChemPack, but they're strategically located throughout the state of Missouri. And then there was an incident in Warrensburg that involved an active shooter. It ended up being a false alarm, but they had a very vulnerable population within a lot of people in wheelchairs. And how are we going to move a mass number of people in wheelchairs to a different facility in a timely manner? And so we brought that back to our Public Healthcare Coalition. And Connie at the Bus Barn is a plethora of information, but what we have in our own town for transportation plan, and that's reaching out to churches, different schools, because we can't just rely on one entity in case something happens to the Bus Barn property. I assisted with FEMA in reviewing and updating the New Madrid. It's from the earthquake, and their plan is huge. It's over 700 pages, and so the state's pushing because they want to have a full-scale exercise. And why Pettis County is so important is because we have the respite site at the state fair, and a respite site is when those people have to evacuate, there's a trend, they strategically place throughout the state, and since we have the state fair, it's a huge location. So you want people, they want to push people here for the state fairgrounds, and then you're going to fuel their car, you're going to do any vehicle repairs, give them food. If they have animals, we have to deal with the first 72 hours, and then the state's going to have teams that come in. My concern is if they make it here, we don't really want them to stay here because they do need to go to that mega shelter. And it's a lot to take on to update that plan. It's a plan in progress. We hope, when I say SEMA, that's State Emergency Management. They have a booth at the state fair. I think they're really only there for 4 or 5 days, and they let us come. I have a lot of EMAs that would love to help, so we help assist them one day for that. Throughout the year, we continually provide PPE to the assisted living facilities throughout the year. Also this year, we were granted $1,000 from our local Walmart. We purchased 44 weather radios and batteries. It was a really good program that we're going to ask for it again. It'll be better organized. I got off the radio and there was a line at my office. I thought people would come during their lunch, but people absolutely love that. The Emergency Management Performance Grant, we call it the EMPG, and why I put this in the slide is it is a big grant, and what it is it's federal money that FEMA gives to your state. So then state emergency management takes that money and they give it to the local EMAs, and it's a 50-50 match, and this grant is getting a lot harder to do with less money. So what the requirement is for EMPG, and I do want to point out that 2 counties lost their funding going into this next year. Benton County and Henry County, they both lost their funding for next year for applying, is you must conduct a tabletop exercise and a full-scale functioning exercise each year. And we do that, we do more than that. And then you have to attend their annual trainings. If they have a SEMA conference, you have to attend that as well as their exercises. So there's THIRA, and THIRA stands for Threat and Hazard Identification and Risk Assessment. And THIRA, in the last 2 years, we've noticed if you don't have stuff mentioned with your gaps in THIRA, you can't apply for EMPG money. And so that's why it's getting smaller and smaller. And THIRA you just can't look at it in a couple of days. It's a big plan. And then this grant actually starts July 1st and it ends June 30th. So you don't apply for this grant until April, and you don't know what you will get until like the end of August. So when I say stuff, it's an estimate. This grant used to pay for my shelters and like my storm siren repair, and now it does not. It gives me a couple thousand, I think, for the siren repair. It doesn't pay for any of my shelter utilities anymore. This is just a quick 2020, what my expenses were and what you guys paid and what the county paid. In 2020, you'll see that it was an 18-month grant cycle, and they also cut the money in that 18 months. And then you move to 2021, it is slower. It had a lot to do with COVID. There was a lot of travel and expenses. We did a lot of stuff virtual. In 2020, I had a lot of siren maintenance, like Sedelia's do. I have 2 sirens that need new batteries. For 2 sirens, that's $1,800, and it's just a continuous thing. That year, we had a lot of siren repair. So for the 2023 moving forward, the estimate, you can see what I estimate what the grant's going to pay for, what Sedalia is going to pay for. I did send this on Friday, and I need to add $200 to that. So it's $36,591 or $591.55. And then I'll talk about the projects that we're working on in the future. My part-time director, Erin, she's part-time. I requested her to be full-time for 2023, so she would start July 1st because then the grant would reimburse her 50% back for her salary and benefits. And this is just due with a lot of increasing in meetings, exercise planning, and community projects. And I did go to different regions and different counties our size to see how many they have. So I have a list of other counties that I'll happily send you if you'd like to see that. I also applied, I got the grant, but it hasn't taken an effect yet. The county had an ARPA grant, and with our sirens in the city and the county, it would take out human error. It would be a cloud system. It's called Command One, and it would just be automatic for the systems or for the towns that actually have the tornado warning. So take last December, we had a tornado warning, but it was just a little north of Sedalia. It was election night, and we decided to go ahead and sound the sirens in Sedalia just because there was a lot of people outside. So we would have to manually go in because they really weren't in a tornado warning, like for that specific incident. So I think this will be a really good thing. It was just over $19,000. And it just needs to be able to have a connection to the National Weather Service through the cloud. So the primary will be in the 911 Joint Communications System Center, and then I would have the secondary at the EMA office. So that's a good thing. Just for your knowledge, there's 11 out of 21 sirens that are your guys's. Most of your sirens are an 01 model. We have a newer one that was put up, I think it was 2018. So, but with that program, the newer sirens you do get, you could test them every day silently, and it would just automatically tell you at 7 o'clock in the morning, this needs done per siren. So it's a really good program. So the new Madrid, like I mentioned before, is updating your MOUs. I didn't know that I was in charge of pet food, so it's going to your Orschelns, going to your Tractor Supply. How much pet food do they usually sell in a week? How much do they have in stock? So how many different stores do I need to do to communicate that back to our new Madrid plan? So our full-scale exercise will be that. Also, hazard mitigation plan is due in 2024. Hazard mitigation money, I know that the school used it for their FEMA shelter and my shelters. So there's two in Sedalia. There's one on North Ohio, and there's one at the Skyline School. That was also hazard mitigation. So we did this, I believe, when I first started. We have a lot more time in just a couple months, but it'll be multiple planning meetings, and it'll be all towns, and it's because we get a kind match. So the county's paying for this contract with Pioneer Trails. But if people come to those meetings for their goals and objections, they give you so much money per hour, and it goes towards their in-kind match. I don't get the money. The county doesn't get the money. It's just so we don't have to pay thousands of dollars more. And come back to our TIMPAC, since we have our plan now, we have a tabletop next month. I asked Eric from PCAT to attend that so we get the EMS side because it's regional. So it's in Lee Summit. And then Eric and I are going to take that back, and we want to do a tabletop in our county. So that would be with our local first responders. Dispatch will be involved. I think it's a really good thing that we're all on the same page. And then they're going to do a full scale in June. I think that's because some people don't have their grant requirement for EMPG, and that's due June 30th. And at some point, I really want it in our county. Nobody around us has a ChemPAC, but it'll probably be urban, I'm guessing. So if we don't have our full scale, we will. And a lot of it is vision. Your ChemPAC, you're not going to pick it up in a Crown Vic. You're going to need a truck, a Tahoe. It's a very big package. And so we want a visual, like how big are the boxes, how much do they weigh, stuff like that. And then back to the transportation plan, I'm very concerned about the western side of Sedalia for their vulnerable, for their assisted living, and some nursing homes. We have 3 of them that are pretty close together. And if they get hit, what we're noticing in the plan is they do have a plan. They've reached out to other counties. This is where we're going to transport people and they can stay there. However, all 3 of them have the same plan, and that facility can't hold all 3 of them. So we're really digging in deep there. So we're having a tabletop, and a lot will come from that tabletop, and then we're going to have a full scale, and we're going to have, it's not going to be the patients, we'll have actors, and it'll get interesting. Like if you have a bus with a wheelchair, if it's 6 inches up, how are you going to get that wheelchair in there type of scenario. I know that they're really excited about that. We have a lot of Region A meetings, and they're great. A lot of it is urban, and for rural, it just didn't affect us like it does the urban because we don't have all the resources at your fingertips. So in 2018, Johnson County and I got together, and we started this rural Region A committee. So of course, right when it starts going, he quits and he got a different job. So I'm the chair now, and was coordinating this meeting. It's making meaningful training. So we had COVID, we haven't met a lot, but I do think it's beneficial that we're at least there with our needs and how to move forward. So like right now, I'm working with the state vet in agriculture, and he's developing just a tabletop for us. If we would ever have an animal disease with chickens or cattle, we would be greatly impacted in our county. And a lot of our first responders, me, myself included, we don't work a lot with vets or the state vet. And so it's just going to be interesting how this all plays out. So I think this will be really beneficial for our county. And he seems really excited about it because we usually don't have exercises with vets. So COAD is a community organization that is activated. So when the floods happened, we had the Baptist South organization that came together, and I knew that they were on the team. I knew they lived in Pettis County, but he took his whole church, and it's a team that they work really, really well together. They are trained in chainsaws. It's not your normal volunteer that shows up. Like, they know what they need to get done. So we have a couple groups like them, and I feel like we would better benefit if we all sat down and talked a little bit so we know what's going on in our county. So these groups are amazing, but somehow we just need to fit them all together with partnerships moving forward. The National Weather Service, a couple years ago, we had storm spotters training, and we'd have almost 100 people come to this. The public loved it. A couple years ago, they said, we're going to put it to the public, and we're going to focus on your first responders so we can do a tabletop. And they've done that. They came out, so it's going to be virtually this year, so people that are wanting to attend that training, they still can. It would be from a computer. And then they have an international weather team, and it focuses on outdoor events. What concerns me a little bit is we have these big outdoor events, and sometimes we have a lot of tents, and how well is their tent secured? And then when you have these big events, when they come in, do they have a weather plan? Is somebody monitoring the weather? Is that Matt, are they focused on it? Am I focused on it? I do focus on the weather. With those events, we need to capture a little bit better and correlate who's in charge of that event. And then the National Weather Service, after so many people, you can call them and you just work as a better team, and they'll focus on your area a little bit more, especially with tents. Storm spotters, I have an issue with my shelter doors. My radio frequency is on the same as my storm spotters radios. And for some reason, our last two tornadoes, I open up my shelters early, but a door will recycle for no reason. And when it does that, it's about 2.5 minutes of zero communication. So when my spotters are on the ground and a tornado warning, they cannot communicate. So I was working with Comiso. I had a couple different options what to do. We started buying some digital radios, not the crazy expensive ones. Ours will go either, but it'll be better communication when they go to digital. It's not going to have that door interference. Also, an EMA booth at the state fair. Just with everything that happened last year with a lot of EMAs, especially Cooper County, and there's a Southern County that really want to be there, and I said I would help do that. We have a lot of free information from FEMA. That's not going to cost us anything to give away stuff. And as of right now, there's a lot of people that want to volunteer. So I said I would help the system with that. Do I have any questions?
I have one. On your tabletop discussions and on your full-scale exercises, you mentioned that first responders would be there. Would you have city or county leadership there as well?
They're more than welcome to, and that's something that I can send out. There's some stuff that we do, but there is some stuff. There's exercises I think that would be beneficial is if the Emergency Operations Center opens. A lot of you guys would be our key.
I feel like
people in
obviously
there.
we don't need that many chiefs or that many cooks in the kitchen, but in the event that either many hands make light work, or in the event that there's an emergency decision that needs to be made, I don't know if maybe council should be there, but maybe city administrator, the mayor, county presiding commissioner. I don't know if that would be a good meeting for you, a discussion for you.
What would be really beneficial for elected officials is just like a little tabletop, and it doesn't have to take hours and hours. I mean, you can get it done in an hour, but just kind of a walkthrough and inject, okay, now this happens. Now what are you going to do? And just that critical thinking going over it. And then when it's a real life event, we'll have a better understanding of it. And that's something that I can start working on.
I think that would be extremely beneficial. I don't know who else around the county might need to be in to the DAC, president of the college, or your health center director. I don't know who all. But I just feel like that having your city leadership, just have a clear understanding of what your expectations are in an emergency situation, might be beneficial to everybody.
And they are quite entertaining.
No, there we go.
Any other questions?
Is there any kind of replacement schedule for the sirens?
No. So the county's budget, it's in the EMA contract with you guys that they take care of all of the repairs and like shelter utilities. Like other shelters, I think we take care of their utilities, but not their water. but you guys, when you purchased your new siren, you did pay for that. And it's weird, like 1 year you don't have that much, and then the next year you'll have like nine grand. I know Smithton has some issue, and it's woodpeckers that have, their pole isn't very durable, and if you call the company, it's $6,000 for a pole. Sirens, I have not price checked them this year, but they were around $25,000 per siren. They do last a long time.
What's the lifespan of one of those? Like,
That's kind of a trick question. We do have some that are like 40 years old, but they're not big. So,
With the city expanding more north and south, do you see having us to purchase new sirens in the near future within, I don't know, the next 5 years?
if it keeps expanding, yes. So, and that's what happened on the western side is, it was outside of Menards, or somebody called it in, and they're like, we were outside, we didn't hear the siren.
Yeah.
And then when you really start looking, because they can input, how far, I actually have a map, but I can resend you guys.
So
it,
is new core able to hear?
They have one,
They
yeah.
have one, okay. And then what's the furthest, housing area we have to Gables? Is that the furthest south? They're
So-
fair end of it?
The map's interesting to look at, but as of today, it's pretty covered,
Okay.
according to what the studies show. So I keep track of our complaints, and if you continue to have a complaint, we send our storm spotters help monitor our testing, and if we hear it, sometimes people say I can't hear them, but they're inside. I always push 3 different ways of communication, and it's not a siren in case something does fail. So,
when we purchased our last ones, we moved, I think, 2 of them.
yes,
We moved 2 of them around.
because we were overlapping.
Coverage.
So some of those circles, like we were overlapping a lot. And so they had really, really good coverage. And then you did get a little bit of complaints in that area because they're like, well, we can't hear the siren as good as we did, but you could still hear it. And so we positioned them so we had a little bit more coverage like towards the airport, and the new core got some, and then behind Menards.
And of course, I learned more than I ever thought. I didn't realize sirens were that complicated. But there's different types of sirens, and so the decibel level saturates the pitch.
Yes.
Some of them did penetrate the inside more than the outside.
And they used to be really loud, and then we narrow banded, and they don't sound as loud.
Jefferson Council, I think it was one of the first decisions.
We hear a lot about the spring weather and the sirens going off. What do we have in place, or do we have anything in place for the winter weather?
For the winter weather, like for sheltering or?
Not so much for sheltering, but for informing people.
For informing people, I constantly push stuff out from my office. I do have a weather list. If you want to email me, I'll probably put you on that. A lot of businesses will push it out, and a big Facebook following. Sometimes I'm on the radio, but I do send stuff to get pushed out, especially with the cold snap, or if it's going to be icy.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking about with the extreme weather that they're talking about coming in at the end of the week here. How do you
Still, text messages do quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay. But I try to get the information out, and the winter weather, like a blizzard coming, it isn't like a tornado if it pops up.
Mhm.
You kind of know what's coming.
Mhm.
I would advise not going the night of grocery shopping if everybody's there.
So true. And you get different information depending upon what channel television you're looking at. If you're looking at Kansas City, it's telling you one thing. If you're looking at Columbia, it's telling you a whole different thing. So you kind of like, I'm in the middle, who's going to hit me?
Right. Nope, I agree with that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Is there a text alert system available?
Nexel, the sheriff has Nexel, and so, like my siren test, that goes out on Nexel, so I'll message them, say, can you send this message out for me? I don't have access to it, but they'll put it through on Nexel.
Is it subscriber based, or how do you?
Yep, you can text the number, or you can actually go in and sign it, and be careful what you push, because like flood warnings will come at like 2:30 in the morning.
Right.
Like, if you don't want to know there's a chili supper at Green Ridge, just be careful what you push for a warning.
Okay.
Or it will go off a lot more. It's completely free. and, it's on the sheriff's office, website, and then I usually blast it on my page as well. And then if people don't have the internet, I'll happily sign them up over the phone.
And then you push out the weather. I know I'm on the weather that you push out.
On the weather emails, yes, and there was discussion not to push out the warnings on the emails, because sometimes they sit there, and like, I send them out, but you don't get it for 15 minutes. So we went back to the three simple rule, or three different ways of communication. I put it on Facebook, when we go into a watch, a warning, but your app on your phone is a lot faster.
But if council wanted on the email list.
Oh, absolutely. Send me your email, and it's like weather tips, how many layers of clothes. I mean, it's just random stuff on there. It's informational.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Ruth.
What?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I didn't even need to put my glasses on.
Very good. Chief Ward?
Well, good evening. I'm kind of one of those people that likes to move around a little bit. I don't like standing at a podium. So tonight, I'm just not podium style. So tonight, I'm going to go through my strategic plan. We're going to talk about, like I do each year, talk about the services that we have as a department and what we do. Because we want to talk about what we do, why we do it, and then work into the strategic portion of it. So the services the police department offers is obviously police. We also have some community services, and then one of our growing aspects is our training. So through our police services, so this is what you see with us every day. This is the law enforcement side, the investigation side, our traffic unit, our crime resolution unit, our drone unit, our canine unit, and then the two units that we have added this year that are new, that you're going to start seeing hopefully more of, is our school resource officer. We joined that program earlier this year with Smith Cotton Junior High, and then also our special response team. Our special response team is the team that we are building, and we're going to talk more about that during this presentation, to handle response to all kinds of situations. We'll cover a little bit more of that later. Some of the high points of the years. So a lot of people, sometimes, especially folks that don't have contact with law enforcement, many times will just think that we're out stopping cars and that's all we do. That is not all we do as a police department, and actually it's a fraction of it. So as of December 1st, we had been on a total of 32,181 incidents. We had arrested and detained 1,712 people, made almost 7,000 traffic stops, and worked over 600, almost 700 accidents. So that on a day-to-day basis is over 100 incidents a day is what we usually run. So if you think about that, those are pretty surprising numbers for a community of our size. So the next part that we're going to move on to, though, is, again, I'm highlighting each one of the things that we do and the parts of it, so you get an idea of what we do and why we do it, is our community services. So community services is our special events. So these are all the different events that go on across Sedalia that we attend, that we're involved in, our community involvement. So what we do there is, you name it. Those are the types of events that we're attending and we've been invited to. And I'm going to give you a list of them on the next slide. Also, our DARE program, obviously that's a huge part of our department and what we do has been for a number of years. That's another part of a service that we provide to the community. Hundreds and hundreds of kids go through our program each year. We build relationships with them through that program. Then another part of it is community engagement, and that's very similar to community involvement. But community engagement is the portion of our department that is actually reaching out to the community. We're working on events and things that we can do to engage the community to interact with us. An example of that would be like a couple of the pictures that you see here. The top left is our Citizens Police Academy. That is 7 weeks of one night a week where people can come in, they volunteer to come in, and they see what makes our department go around. from every aspect of the department. And that was all taught in-house by department members. They all volunteer to do that. I don't have to volunteer anybody to do that portion. So I'm pretty proud of our folks because of that. They want to showcase the department. They want to showcase the good things about it. The center picture is one of our situations of community engagement where we're involved with a boat race at the middle school. And it's just a great interaction with kids and a great time. Down there in the lower right-hand corner, that was part of the crime resolution unit. 90-year-old woman had her mailbox taken out by some vandals, and the officers heard about it, and she didn't have any family available, so they went out and put her mailbox back up so that she can make sure and get her mail that day. Another one of our community services is social media. We all know that social media plays a huge part in everything we do, communicating, engaging, being involved with, and responding to the community beyond our normal operations. Here's some of our community services and examples of what we have done over the last year: the Citizens Police Academy, No Shave November, DARE, and DARE Camp. Last year, if you guys remember our DARE Camp, that was the first one that we had had. Huge success, was a great time with the kids, and it was a reward for their hard work in the DARE program. And again, all of that's done with donations through the local community and through those different fundraising events. Our drone unit has become huge with demonstrations, the boat race. You guys all know about the multiple 4th of July events, the multiple Halloween events, and I'm just touching on high points. But we all know if there's something big going on in the city, the police department is probably there and directly involved in it. Thanksgiving events, Christmas parade. I've been to a lot of schools. I've been fed well this fall, obviously, but I really enjoy those, and the officers enjoy those times spending with kids and giving them a different aspect of what our department is, what police departments or the police department does. You know, and it's the important part of that is we're building relationships with our community. You know, we're building relationships of trust. We're building relationships that provide communication. Because when bad things happen and the police need information or they need to solve a crime, we have to have our community trust us and be involved in us. In the communities that we've seen across the United States that have had problems, the community needs to know what we do through our engagement and through these different projects that we have, and then they need to understand that. But we've got to have that two-way street. So this is our extending our hand out to build these relationships and help us become stronger within the community. One of the last ones I want to touch on, real neat one that we started out handing out the prizes to today. Nick Cameron, one of my officers, came up with a drone art contest. I look forward to seeing this in the newspaper and on the radio and then on our Facebook. And it's a neat thing where he went around to businesses here in Sedalia. They contributed to it. And all the kids at all the elementary schools in Sedalia, kindergarten through 4th grade, entered into the contest. And three winners at each one of the elementary schools in Sedalia were chosen. And we've been going around giving those prizes out. 32 drones is what we gave out with the help of all of our sponsors and trophies. So we've got one more school, so I can't announce the winners yet. But it's been an exciting time for that because that program is once again just another example of, and Nick did all that on his own, but it's a great time with the kids. It's a great time for interaction because you're not only are you having engagement with the children, the teachers, and the school staff, and then through social media, people learning about what the department does and who we are. Another aspect, so again, I've covered the police side of things and I've covered the community side of things. So one of our other and final areas in what we do and why we do it is our training. So some of the things that we have, you guys always hear me talk about training. One of the additions, again, as I've already touched on, is the special response team, training and certification. So that's a week-long training that every person and every member of that team has to go to. And it's outside of our area, and they go to it and they learn how to be on this special response team. Then each month they have to do, as a team, 8 hours of training. So they're becoming highly trained at what they do to respond to all kinds of different situations. The training is focused at violent situations. Unfortunately, in this world, we see this more and more, and we have got to be prepared as a police department in the city to respond to those situations. So we are working towards that. Something I'll touch on here in a few minutes is that the state has a team. The problem is the state's response time to Sedalia is on average 2 to 5 hours. A lot of bad things can happen between 2 and 5 hours. Our goal is to be able to respond with that team in under an hour. So we drastically reduce our time, and we have that team within our department. The reality of it is we should get there quicker. An hour is a lot of times, but we want to be honest and transparent in what we're talking about in response. We've also, switching gears, updated our physical skills training for officers. So a lot of different things have changed in use of force around the United States. We like to be on the cutting edge of that, and one of the things that we were working on is updating our physical skills. A lot of our skills were good, but you can always get better, right? So we have added the Gracie Survival Tactics, which is a revolutionary defense tactic system based on Gracie Jiu-Jitsu that incorporates time-tested techniques into an easy-to-learn system designed to help officers humanely prevail against larger and stronger opponents. The idea behind it is that what we've seen across the United States with use of force that become questionable is bad tactics or lack of confidence in their tactics. So our department is working on ways to make sure that our officers can prevail without going and always having to elevate that use of force. Like I always say, that doesn't always stop it because we all know bad situations can happen. But the idea is to make sure that they're confident and capable in what they're able to do. We're continuing our in-service training of 48 hours, and on top of that is another 8 hours of state-required training. So again, our minimum has stayed at the 56 hours a year minimum training, and the state requires 26. So we over double that, but that is on purpose because we're trying to train and build good officers that are not average. CIT training, we continue the 40-hour training. We host it. We're hosting it. Starts in February at our department, as we host it every year, and we're involved with it. And then we also continue our regional police training. So we're continuing to host those classes like we have in the past. Those are very important because they bring and provide training to sometimes departments that aren't able to afford it, aren't able to host it, aren't able to get to it. So it's great that we provide it, and of course our officers can go to it as well. We'll continue to do that through the next year. We have been doing that, and we'll continue to do it. So I'm going to start in on my strategic plan. Is there any questions so far of kind of what we do and why we do it? All makes sense? Very good. So our strategic plan, the first item on that plan involves our police services, and it's the continuation of building the special response team. Obviously, we've talked about some of the training. We have to continue to provide that advanced training for SRT members. So that each year is a requirement. One of the big things that we want to do is we want to follow the guidelines and the parameters that have been set forth by national standards for this team, and that is a certain amount of training each year. We also need to acquire some specialized equipment for all the types of response situations. We have basic things now, but there's more advanced things that we can do with our training and have the capabilities to go beyond what we have now. Those items are specialized, very, very specialized. Only the team and the specially trained people would have access to them and be able to use those weapons and those special things. There's a lot of different things that if you're interested in, I can tell you about. We also need to develop long-term strategies of equipment maintenance and replacement plan. With this type of equipment, we're going to have to maintain it. We're going to have to replace it on a regular occasion. So that does affect the budget. It's not, that portion of it's not huge once you make the purchase. Replacements aren't as bad. Then we need to look at a specialized SRT vehicle, something that is bulletproof, something that can take that type of environment. As we've had situations in the last several years that you guys have heard about and you've seen in the newspaper and you've probably read emails from me about that are very significant. When those come up, we need to protect our officers and give them the tools that they need to be able to handle those very dangerous situations. And I think that's all I have on. Yeah. So the next portion of it, if there's no questions, I'm going to transition over to our next side on the police side of things as well, continuing on with that. So as a recruit and retention, you know, as we're not, we're like a lot of the United States, we're having trouble recruiting our folks. We're having trouble retaining our folks. You know, as a department, we work really hard to train our folks. We work really hard to make our officers the best police officers that can be. And I will say this with the utmost confidence in my people. I would put my officers up against any big city. You name the big city, I'll put them up against them. I am that confident in them, and I'm that proud of them that they have that ability. It comes at a cost, and you guys support that cost of training them to that point. The problem is that then they became very attractive for other agencies to try to steal from us, to put it bluntly. And they don't care, and they will do it without remorse. So we have to find ways to protect our investment, protect and keep these officers that are out there doing that same thing every day. We've got to protect that investment, because every time an officer walks out that door, we're losing money. We're losing part of our investment. The same as we put money into our retirements accounts and our savings accounts. Well, we're doing that when we hire those officers and we train them, and we want to protect that investment. We don't want that money to walk out the door, but every time it does, it sets us back. So we need the highest competitive employee package that we can provide for officers. According to Indeed, the base salary of a police officer right now, the starting base salary, is about $47,600. Ours is $42,600. I'm not saying that would solve all our problems, but those are the kinds of things that we've got to look at to make sure that we keep good officers. I try not to run an average department. I try to run a much better than that department. So I don't want to look at average. I want to look at what's the best, because the services and the ability of our officers are much higher than especially the city, or the size of city that we are. I'd like to continue the hiring incentive programs and paying for the police academy like we do now. That does help us attract different members. Our big problem right now is specifically with trying to recruit people at like the academy and the police academies is that the big cities come in there with the big money, and it's hard to get someone to look past what that big city pays. And right now, the numbers at academies are so low in numbers that there's not a lot of folks to recruit from there, and we're struggling to get people to apply. Right now, we have 6 to 7 openings, depending on how you consider it, which is 15 pushing 20% of our manpower. We're still doing the same number of calls that we have, but it burns people out. You can't sustain running that hard for that long without having burnout, and that's a big struggle for right now. And although, and I'm going to talk about buying more equipment, and I'm going to talk about things, building things, buying equipment, all of those things, they solve problems only if there's good people there to solve the problems, because ultimately people solve problems. Equipment and things don't, even though we need all those things, and I'm going to talk about it. But that's ultimately what I have to remember every day. If I don't have somebody behind a pepper ball gun or a taser or performing a great CIT operation, crisis intervention, I'm not gonna solve my problems. The equipment's gonna lay on the ground. The police car is gonna stay parked, and so we're running into that. People are our greatest asset, and they're the ones that actually work to solve problems. So we've got to focus on that, and we also want to continue with programs that provide with career growth within the department. We have found that having the ability for officers to do different things, to learn from those, not only do we create better police officers and better leaders, but it also gives people a chance to do something different. I've been doing this career for over 2 decades, And I can tell you that I've helped myself a lot over the years by doing different things. It's kept me fresh. It's kept me enjoying what I do. And at the same time, I've learned something about it. So our next portion of our strategic plan is also our community services and engagement. Some of the things that we want to continue through this next year is, of course, we want to engage the community to help solve problems through problem-oriented policing. I talked about this on what we do and why we do it, and here's the continuation of that. That's one of our goals. It's not a huge budget impact, but it is somewhat of an impact on it. We do this through the Special Operations Fund a lot of times with different operations, such as working the parades, working the Thanksgiving lighting, all the way up to towing cars, and working with different departments. But our biggest thing with those operations is we want to try to get community involvement. So if we have a problem in a neighborhood, for example, we want the neighbors to be part of the solution with us instead of the part of the problem. We also want to continue our engagement, engage the public through a positive learning experiences and online presence. As you see, all of those things there are community engagement in the pictures. It's an example on the top of the Citizens Police Academy, where one of the members of the academy was learning to fly the drone. And then the middle picture is from our DARE camp, and the bottom one is Shop with a Cop. All of those things, again, build relationships, but those are positive relationships and positive experiences. And again, as I touched on it earlier, through engagement, provide an understanding of the police's role in the community. It's always good that we understand, that the community understands our role, but that we also get feedback to make sure that we know what the community finds important. When we have these interactions, when we have these engagements, the officers spend time, I spend time listening to what people find are important in the area. Because the closer we are in the community, I should say, instead of the area, because the closer we are together as a community, knowing what we find is important, the less chances we are of having disagreements on what the police should and shouldn't be doing. Obviously, there's the basis of law that we have to keep track of, but those are important interactions that we have. Probably one of the more boring things, and it's the equipment replacement that I promised you, but it is something that obviously we value a lot as a city and as a department, is our body cameras. You know, our department has been wearing body cameras for many, many years now. We were one of the first departments especially larger departments in the state, to start wearing body cameras. We are on our second generation of them. We've had them for 5 years. That is their life expectancy. We're going to push a little bit beyond that, even going into the next budget year, They are reaching their end of the life. They've came out with a new one. We use Panasonic body cameras a little over a year ago. And so, of course, the model that we have has become obsolete in a sense, and it's becoming more expensive to replace them than to just buy a new one. The problem is that all the parts and pieces don't fit together, so you can't just buy one new one and then another new one and that sort of thing. You need to replace the whole fleet of them, if you will. We want to maintain the quality body-worn cameras, which is what BWC stands for, because we want to make sure the officers know it's reliable, they can rely on them. Anything that's reliable, people will use more often than when it's unreliable. And of course, with the new generation, they've made improvements of longer runtime and battery life. An officer usually has to charge his body camera 2 to 3 times during a shift, which can become a problem if you're out on a long call or something like that. It's not uncommon for one to go dead. You know, usually if we've got a group of officers there, one of them has them going, but that's something that would be nice to have longer battery life. So this is something I've had on your guys' radar for the last couple of years, and something that I want to have in consideration this next year or this next budget year. So kind of as an overview, just if there's nothing else that you can remember from my presentation, what we need to look at for the future is recruit and retention. We have to value our personnel because people are who solve problems. Those are always, especially in law enforcement, They're our greatest asset. You know, we don't have a piece of equipment necessarily to run other than a police car that we're known for, but those things are what the people who are going out there and doing the work more than anything else in law enforcement. We want to continue our community engagement. We want to continue those established positive relationships and solve problems with the community. The old saying, the community is our eyes and ears, it couldn't be more important these days, especially with electronics and cameras and social media and their ability to gather information for us. So having those positive relationships, but having the trust from the community is one of our greatest assets as well. And then the final thing is the special response team, to fully implement the team and the operations so that we have the capabilities as a department to handle those violent situations. One thing I didn't touch on that I also need to bring up is this is not always violent. They would be able to handle several different types of situations, such as also crisis negotiation and that sort of thing. If we have a situation of a barricaded subject or even a hostage situation, that we're fully trained to handle pretty much all incidents except for bombs. We're going to stay out of the bomb business for now, but maybe someday. But if we get some more tornado sirens and the community grows, we might need them. But in all seriousness, this is the high points and the things that I want you to remember the most from my presentation. So if there isn't anything else, obviously, thank you guys for your support. The council's always been very supportive of the police department, and we appreciate that, and we are working hard to protect this community.
Can you tell me what's the ballpark price of those body cams right now?
So right now, it took me a little bit to get an estimate, and I'd gotten sick, so we were a little slow on it. Right now, they're talking about $90,000. But I think I can get a better price than that because there's some services on there that I have some people capable of doing. And then usually it's one of those things that they'll sharpen their pencil up when you get a little more serious.
How many cameras is that?
48.
I have one question. How many officers on force right now are close to retirement? Ballpark.
I believe I have, if I remember right, 2 officers eligible for retirement, and then I probably have 10 that are less than 5 years. Actually, I may have 3 eligible for retirement and close to somewhere around 10. And don't quote me on that because I'm doing very fast math in my head. And I'm a policeman, not an accountant. Anything else? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Robinson. Up next, we have Finance and Administration. Chairman Marshall, you have the floor.
Yes, I have 5 items on my report tonight. First is a brief update on tax revenue and collection trends by Finance Director Jessica Pyle.
Okay, so we're looking at October sales in the city. Sales tax reported for the month of October is in the top chart, and then the fiscal year to date is in the second chart of numbers. Looking at sales tax reported for the month of October, it was lower than October of last year, but fiscal year to date still remains up. We're up 6% over last year, which is a little bit over $750,000. And we're ahead of budget by about $250,000 year to date. The franchise taxes, the gas tax continues to trend higher, accounting for the majority of the $88,267 fiscal year to date increase over last year. And then the transportation taxes, the gas tax continues to trend higher, reaching the fiscal year to date increase of just under 20%, offset by vehicle taxes, which is a decrease over last year of about 8%. So those two together make up the difference in the transportation taxes of around 5% over last year. And then we will start recording property taxes in December and January. Any questions?
What's going to happen when everything starts going electric? Will we lose revenue off the gas tax?
Are you talking about vehicles?
Yeah.
I mean,
The gas tax is, basically a per gallon charge, so.
I understand, but if you go, like if you have an electric vehicle, a friend of mine has electric, it's like a golf cart, but it's legally a car. He went to get his license and they charged, the state charges a use, electrical use. He has to have, put a sticker on his windshield because they said, this is to make up the revenue that we're gonna lose on gasoline tax, okay? So I think the city needs to kind of look towards the future of that if they're pushing this electric vehicles, we're gonna lose this gas tax, in the city. So I think it's kind of covering our backside before it gets too far carried away, and that's why I was wondering what if there's.
And unfortunately, we're limited by the state statutes of what taxes and fees we can impose. So, unlike the state, we don't get the pin. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I mean, good point. Now, it would be offset maybe a little bit with, if the electricity goes up through those customers, our franchise or our gross receipts tax on electricity would make up a portion of that. Now, will they even out? I have no idea. I mean, it's a good thing probably something we should look at.
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you, Director Powell.
Second is a call for ordinance amending the rate for our code book supplementation services. Twice each year, we have accumulated and sent ordinances that have been adopted by the City Council to the company that provides the codification and hosting of our code book. The charges for this service were based on a per-page rate. The company has changed their charging rate to a flat rate. This rate will cost the city less and will offer more features like quarterly updates to our code book instead of twice per year, and better tools to help with online management.
Any council discussion regarding the ordinance? Having heard none, call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-209, an ordinance authorizing statements of work, master services agreement, and addendum for code book supplementation services.
Second reading.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-209, an ordinance authorizing statements of work, master services agreement, and addendum for code book supplementation services.
Final passage.
Second. Roll call, please.
Foster. Foster.
Sorry, the app is really bad right now. It's really slow to respond when I try to hit a button, but yes.
Bliss.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Bogus.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
Third is an ordinance to waive the open container laws for the Lions Club St. Patrick's Day Pub Crawl. This event serves as a major fundraiser for the club to continue doing great work throughout the year. Open containers will only be allowed within designated areas. Like in past events, the club will pay for off-duty Sedalia police officers to provide security and compliance with the suspension of the open container law. Special cups and wristbands will be issued for those that have verified their legal age for drinking alcohol.
Any council discussion regarding the ordinance? Having heard none, call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-210, an ordinance waiving the requirements of section 4.3A of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sedalia, Missouri, and imposing other conditions relating to the Sedalia Lions Club Pub Crawl on Saturday, March 18, 2023, during the hours of 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. in downtown Sedalia.
Second reading.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Bill number 2022-210, an ordinance waiving the requirements of section 4.3A of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sedalia, Missouri, and imposing other conditions relating to the Sedalia Lions Club pub crawl on Saturday, March 18, 2023, during the hours of 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. in downtown Sedalia.
Final passage.
Second. Roll call, please.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
Hiller?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Foster?
Yes.
Yes.
The fourth item tonight is an ordinance accepting a quote for a one-year contract renewal of our antivirus software for our desktops and our servers. Blue Tree Tech is an authorized reseller and provides support services for the software the city uses against cyber attacks. Staff obtained quotes, and although Blue Tree was not the lowest, our relationship with them has proven that their technical and consulting assistance makes them the best quote overall in staff's opinion.
Any council discussion regarding the ordinance? Having heard none, call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-211, an ordinance accepting a quote for a one-year contract renewal of desktop and server antivirus software.
Second reading.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Bill number 2022-211, an ordinance accepting a quote for a one-year contract renewal of desktop and server antivirus software.
Final passage.
Second. Roll call, please.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
Hiller?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Foster? Foster?
There she is.
Yes.
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
The final item I have is an ordinance to change the hospital board of trustees composition. The board, in coordination with the executive staff, has made recommendations to Mayor Dawson regarding the size of the board. The recommendation is to increase the size of the board to 9 members from its current size of 7. This increase in numbers of the members will allow a more diverse perspective in representing different segments of the city's population.
Any council discussion regarding the ordinance? Having heard none, call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-212, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 11549 and amending section 2-434 relating to the City Hospital Board of Trustees.
Second reading.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Bill number 2022-212, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 11549 and amending section 2-434 relating to the City Hospital Board of Trustees.
Final passage.
Second. Roll call, please.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
Hiller?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Foster?
Yes.
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes. That is all I have, Your Honor. Thank you, Chairman Marshall. Up next, we have Public Works. Chairman Oldham, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. I have a little bit of a list tonight. The first thing we're going to start off with is the glorious presentation of water and wastewater. And Director Ardrey will be presenting that today. And I think after this one, we have only one more strategic planning presentation. We have 2 more, animal shelter and...
Actually, it'll be 3, because wastewater is going to be delayed, so it'll be, animal shelter, Parks and Rec will, and this wastewater will be.
All right. Well, shoot, I had some hope.
Yeah.
Actually, we had this discussion. I won't put you to sleep, hopefully, if we put these separate meetings. And hopefully I'll have a better voice by then, too. So with water, it's pretty simple. We provide public drinking water to over 10,650 customers per month. And that includes people both inside and outside the city limits. And so far this year, we have provided 920 million gallons. And by the end of the fiscal year, we anticipate 1.2 billion gallons will have been provided in the city of Sedalia.
We also maintain fire hydrants and monitor compliance with sprinkler accounts and backflow preventers. I need to back up. Current staff. So, Public Works is in a better position than we have been in several months. We've received some applications both through some temp agencies and through some just walk-ins. However, we remain a full dig crew down in the water department. We have been able to utilize other crews from both wastewater and from sanitation to assist with digging, but we really need 3 more operators in our water department to make things run much smoother. Also in blue, we will be asking for some additional staff to assist with some American Water Infrastructure Act lead service line work. We anticipate these being short-term positions, basically 2023 and 24 staffing additions. The good news, we've got a lot done this year on water. We have finished the projects out on Driftwood, Greenwood, Poplar, and Honeysuckle, and you'll hear more about those a little later tonight. Locust Lane is nearing completion. We still have cleanup work to do in that neighborhood. The project looping out on Ingram in the 3,000 to 4,000 block is complete. The East 9th Street project between Ingram and Hancock is complete, and the Cambridge Drive under the road drilling project is complete. On the maintenance side, we have a paint pump maintenance contract now in place, and our pumps are current on their performance improvement. High service pumps number 4 and 5 were scheduled to be complete in 2023. They are now complete in let me back up. We completed this year, 2023. They were a 2022 project. It took us approximately 20 weeks to get pumps in that normally take 2 weeks to obtain from the date we order. So pumps are coming in much later, but they are coming in. High service pump number 3, which was to be the 2023 project, we're now told it will likely complete in April. And then we did rehabilitate well number 18, and it is complete. We just received the starter assembly parts for well number 14, and hopefully we'll have that completed in the first week of January. The pitless repair on well number 19 is complete. We've replaced or are replacing 2 backwash pumps for the water filtration plant, but we're waiting on the guide rail adapters. So metal parts, anything brass, are taking longer to receive. Air scours, the stainless steel tubing replacement in the filter galleries are complete. We have awarded the contract on the air actuators, but again, those parts are running later than anticipated. And we are getting ready to release an invitation for bid to connect the 16-inch taps near the Housing Authority, and then additional 16-inch taps out on Winchester. We've got leaks in both those areas right now. And the dehumidifier that we need for the filter gallery, they tell us that may take as long as 20 months to receive. On the capital improvement side, for next year, things that we're looking at, we've had a couple lightning strikes that have hit wells number 11 and 12, so we're going to ask for lightning arresters. We have received a quote, I think the quote amount, nope, he didn't get it to me, okay. We do not think this is a huge amount. However, we haven't received a quote back. since the inflation has hit on the metal parts. So we didn't want to put the old quote amount in. High service pump number 3 and the VFD, we're still working on the cameras for AWIA compliance and the generator and fencing for well number 14. Towers being inspected. We're supposed to do that every other year. So next year we need to have that done. And a modification needs to be done to well number 9 based upon a well analysis. We're seeing production on that well drop. It had been around 900,000 gallons per day, and it's somewhere between 500,000 and 700,000 gallons per day. On vehicles and equipment, trucks are beginning to be a problem because we haven't been able to obtain any in the last couple of years with the COVID impact. So we have a couple trucks with a significant number of miles, well over 190,000. Also, with the latest on the fiber project, we've discovered that frequently people are jumping on hydrants to fill their water needs instead of going to the plant. So we've talked with Warrensburg, and they recently installed a coin and card bulk water dispenser, and they're having success with it. So we would also like to install one of those here in Sedalia. We would like to share the cost of a new vac truck with the wastewater department and possibly an additional mini excavator due to the AWIA requirements that we're going to have to deal with on lead service lines. And we'd like to refurbish our 1988 crane truck. It's got low mileage, but the hydraulics and winch need to be repaired to be safely operated. We do need to replace the benchtop turbidity meter and the pH machine in the lab, and we'd like to be able to obtain a snow plow for the skid steer. Engineering only for the 24 budget. We backed off Plaza Avenue this year as a result of engineering costs going up, so it's on top of the list for the coming year. South Stewart from 2nd to Main Street, we've had a huge increase in the number of main breaks in that one block area this year. 17th Street from South Hancock to South Ingram, St. Louis Street from South Lamine to North Mill, and then those are all areas experiencing increased breaks. And then we're looking at North New York from East Saline to Tower, and then Cedar Drive north to Gresham. We have the absence of a loop that results in diminished pounds per square inch, or PSI, being available in that area. And we need to get a well analysis done on well number 9 because of the drop in gallons per day seen there, and begin to work to add one additional raw water well to the system. Engineering and construction for the coming year, the Prairie Rose subdivision water extension, the State Fair Boulevard between West 16th and Broadway. Again, that one we've had, I believe it's now 6 breaks between 14th and 16th in the last 4 weeks. So the pipe there needs to be replaced. And then north break time at Rebar Road north to where a new warehouse is being constructed. And construction only is the South Grand area from West 24th Street to the South City limits. For FY24, AWIA, the American Water Infrastructure Act, lead line replacement will be required through an inventory, and the city has to inventory all of our service lines going into homes, businesses, or other commercial structures by October 16th of 2024. and that is an EPA requirement. So we need then, after we complete the inventory, we need to develop a plan for replacement and have all those lead service lines replaced by October 16th of 2034. And the threshold for replacement is any line 10% of which is lead. And so 10%, we are estimating that in the city of Sedalia, between lead service lines, galvanized lines which have been lead contaminated, and lead joined pipe, we likely have somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 customers that will be impacted by this project. But in order to get that number accurate, we have to go in and look at any home that had lead service lines placed before 1986.
Is there any federal funding for that?
Grant funding. Grant funding.
Just grant funding.
Grant funding.
So Brenda, galvanized service lines on the homeowner side to the foundation or throughout the entire structure? Yeah. And there's grant money for that? And it's our responsibility or the homeowner's responsibility?
According to EPA, it is a shared responsibility. This little diagram.
I remember, and we had this information at one of our workshops, but.
For the first time, EPA has placed on the public drinking water provider the responsibility to inventory on the private side of the meter. So this is a first-time federal event in drinking water. Okay? But they are saying it is our responsibility to know if we are going into a home past the meter with water that could be lead contaminated.
So do you know if we can just knock on the door and go in the basement and see galvanized pipe in the basement and say it's here? Or are we going to have to dig from the meter back to the foundation anyway? You know those answers?
I don't think we've got the answer for that. If you look at
so
this.
It's hard to budget for it at this point in time.
Right now, what we're going to talk about in the budget cycle will be the inventory itself. How do we figure it out?
That's required right now.
That mini X that I'm talking to you about through strategic planning will be for the two people I would like to hire to do nothing but this, to go out and dig lines to figure out if they're lead or not, which is part of what we're being told we will be required to do.
I'm trying to wrap my head around how many times we're going to have to do that. We've got records to some extent. From the main to the meter, we don't have any records, I guess, from the meter to the house.
Right, and the majority of those from the main to the meter are paper records. And remember.
So we we can't sort through them digitally.
Right, I mean, if we could.
Some expense there too. Okay.
Yeah, it is fair to say it is not a small project anywhere, unless you are a very small town, right? The good news, so anything built after 1986 is not part of the mix. And we have quite a few homes that came into existence after 1986. So those we can take out. And that's how we narrowed everything down to about 5,000 to 6,000 homes. We know that we did an almost $13 million water project in the last 4 years. And we took all the lead out that we found in any of those service lines. And we talked to homeowners about what we saw on their side of the meter. So we've made a start, and there's a lot of work, but they're telling us it is our job to complete that work. And it's to get lead out of the home. Now, I will tell you that when you sit down with my service techs and we talk about this project, you know, the piece of it that concerns them the most is we're going to go in and we're looking at lines where in fact it's lead joined pipe. It's the solder on the outside of the pipe, right? So until you have a break, your exposure to lead does not exist, right? So there, you know, there's a lot of work here that may not need to happen all at one time.
No.
Okay?
Well, I mean, we can go to the meter, dig down right at the meter. We don't have to dig the entire line.
You're
We're gonna go to a meter probably and.
I can't, in all fairness, I can't tell you that. We have lots of homes here that date back into the 1800s, and we know that there are lines that do not match from the meter to the house and through the foundation into the house. Are you following me? That's part of what we're supposed to identify. Will we, for the first time, be knocking on doors, asking to look at people's pipe? EPA says, first thing, send out a paper survey and see how many people will look for themselves. Now, between me and you, most surveys, 10 to 15% of people will respond to that survey. And that's why they're saying you might as well hire some people, go out, knock on the door, and just ask to take a picture of the pipe and start the work yourself. So there's going to be a lot to do. This is the starting point. Yes?
Okay. So if you have a couple water pipes with lead solder off of your house, they'll have to be replaced by a certain date.
Potentially. They haven't come out and said that exactly yet. They have to be inventoried, and we have to know where they're at. Okay? But yes, they are on the customer side. Trying to see if I missed anything, guys. We're trying to delay work on this until after the fiber optic invasion has happened. We have heard that there are still a couple more fiber companies that may be coming in over, you know, the spring months. We would like to get them in and out before we start work on lead service lines, because it's very easy to get confused about who's knocking on your door for access to your yard. So we're trying to work time frames around. We did receive some questions about AWEA and our emergency response plan. This is a photograph that we took on June 16th of this year at the water plant, and we were boating our operators into the plant at that point. We do have a floodgate at the plant. We have, knock on wood, I'm almost scared to say this, we have never had an incursion into our physical plant. But there are, I never want to say never, because people are claiming that with climate change we may see water flooding, flash flooding higher than in the past. But the floodgates are sufficient at the plant to allow for another 2 feet of water above the 1993 flood level, which was the highest seen at that plant since its inception back in the early 1900s. So someone had asked that question about what our plans are. We boat our people in. We have food, we have cots, we have sleeping bags, and everything necessary to keep operators at the plant 24 hours a day. And the plant was built to be intact during flooding from Flat Creek. So I'm not sure, I don't remember who was asking that question, but does that help with the answer on that one? Maybe? Strangely enough, the AWEA identified to us that our biggest problem is electrical failure at the water plant. But in our review, we do have 4 external wells that are sufficient to carry us throughout the year, except for the 10 days of the Missouri State Fair. So that is why we're looking at a potential new well, is to cover that time frame. We could completely have the plant offline with the four current chlorinated wells plus a fifth well, and be able to meet our peak demand days. Tornado, again, the primary concern there is with electrical failure or a fractured tower, and quite frankly, if we have a fractured tower, we'll tell everyone to back off and we'll let it drain itself. Okay. And then earthquake, that is probably the issue of biggest concern because it could cause the most underground damage. That would take the longest for us to get everyone back in service. Any questions? Sorry.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right.
Hey, Brenda, Driftwood and Greenwood, do you know about that hydrant? I was gonna tell you, Driftwood and Greenwood, there's a leak from that new, okay,
Right.
check Driftwood.
There are only certain sections that are new. There's a north-south section.
It's right at a new hydrant, so, and those people just left, so I wanted you to know.
The second item I have tonight is an amendment to a grant. The city airport has allocated a portion of grant funding each year to offset capital costs. This discretionary funding is often combined with other competitive grant applications to fund a larger project. Therefore, we typically use the allocation between competitive grant awards to fund for and design the next large project application. So Airport Director Dodson recommends using the 2022 allocation to extend the agreement on the auxiliary runway to continue the planning phases along with the box hangar to finish up that project.
Any council discussion regarding this ordinance? Having heard none, call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-213, an ordinance authorizing the execution of amendments to the state block grant agreements with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for airport development.
Second reading.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-213, an ordinance authorizing the execution of amendments to the state block grant agreements with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for airport development.
Final passage.
Second. Roll call, please.
Marshall? Yes. Bogus?
Yes.
Hiller?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes. Third item I have tonight is approval of a change order. Thompson Boulevard has been completed and we need to approve the final change order. There's less asphalt used, so the contract total is brought down by $76,936.
Any council discussion regarding this ordinance? Having heard none, call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-214, an ordinance authorizing change order number 1 for Thompson Boulevard Mill and Overlay Project.
Second reading.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-214, an ordinance authorizing change order number 1 for Thompson Boulevard Mill and Overlay Project.
Final passage.
Second. Roll call, please.
Bogus?
Yes.
Hiller?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson? Yes. Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes. Fourth item is an annexation agreement with Jeffrey Holloway at 1760 Sycamore Drive.
Any council discussion regarding this ordinance? Having heard none, call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-215, an ordinance authorizing annexation and utility services agreement for connection to the city of Sedalia's water distribution system.
Second reading.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-215, An ordinance authorizing an annexation and utility services agreement for connection to the City of Sedalia's water distribution system.
Final passage?
Roll call, please.
Hiller.
Yeah.
Cross.
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
Okay. Bliss.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Saugus.
Yes.
This item I have tonight is an annexation agreement with Kroger Properties at 6021 Low Drive.
Any council discussion regarding this ordinance? Having heard none, call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-216, an ordinance authorizing an annexation and utility services agreement for connection to the City of Sedalia's water distribution system.
Second reading?
Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Bill number 2022-216, an ordinance authorizing an annexation and utility services agreement for connection to the City of Sedalia's water distribution system.
Final passage?
Roll call, please.
Cross.
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
Bliss.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Saugus.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yes.
Next item is another annexation agreement with Kroger Property at 6023 Low Drive.
Any council discussion regarding the ordinance? Having heard none, call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-217, an ordinance authorizing an annexation and utility services agreement for connection to the City of Sedalia's water distribution system.
Second reading?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-217, an ordinance authorizing an annexation and utility services agreement for connection to the City of Sedalia's water distribution system.
Final passage?
Roll call, please.
Foster.
Yes.
Bliss.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Saugus.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
The seventh item I have tonight is a resolution for a street renaming. It is unclear that the roadway between Liberty Pool and Liberty Stadium has ever been designated as a road and officially named. The Parks Department would like to clarify it as a road with the name of the Liberty Stadium Drive. Since we cannot definitively say that it was never named as an official roadway, legal and staff recommend going through the same process as would be done for changing the name of the road. The first step in the process is to adopt a resolution declaring the intent. Then staff will publish a notice of such. 4 weeks after the notice, council will hear from any affected parties and then can consider an ordinance to change the name of the street. So staff recommends approval of the resolution at this time.
Any council discussion regarding the resolution? Call for the reading of the resolution.
Resolution 2006, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Sedalia authorizing the naming of an unnamed street within Liberty Park to Liberty Stadium Drive.
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
The eighth item I have tonight is the approval of contract close or final change order. We have to approve the final change order for the Driftwood Drive and Honeysuckle Drive. We came in under budget by $400.
Any council discussion regarding the ordinance? Call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-218, an ordinance authorizing change order number 1 for Driftwood Drive and Honeysuckle Road Water Main Project.
Second reading?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-218, an ordinance authorizing change order number 1 for Driftwood Drive and Honeysuckle Road Water Main Project.
Final passage.
Roll call, please.
Bliss.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Saugus.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
Next item is another approval of the final change order for the Ingram Avenue and 9th Street water main replacement that has been completed, and we can deduct to the contract of $26,432.50.
Any council discussion regarding the ordinance? Having heard none, call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-219, An ordinance authorizing change order number 1 for Ingram Avenue and 9th Street water main replacement.
Second reading?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Bill number 2022-219, an ordinance authorizing change order number 1 for Ingram Avenue and 9th Street water main replacement.
Final passage.
Roll call, please.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
Hiller?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
And the final item I have tonight is for a lease for a property. Part of this property was acquired by the rail spur, which is not being currently needed for operations. A portion of this area is suitable farming ground and has historically been leased to farmers in the area. Stouts Farms is leasing surrounding land and has negotiated an agreement with staff at the same rate as the previous year in similar terms. The staff recommends approval of the lease, approximately 18 acres of surplus property for $2,196 per year.
Any council discussion regarding the ordinance? Having heard none, call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-220, an ordinance authorizing a lease agreement for growing and harvesting crops.
Second reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-220, an ordinance authorizing a lease agreement for growing and harvesting crops.
Final passage.
Roll call, please.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
Hiller?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
That is all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Chairman Oldham. Next, we have community development. Before that, I believe Vice Chairman Cross is going to run that.
Yes,
For Vice Chairman Cross.
we have 3 items. The first one is the George R. Smith landmark designation that Mr. Simmons told us all about. Do you have anything to add to that, Mayor?
I do not. Any council discussion regarding the ordinance? Having heard none, call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-221, an ordinance approving the historic landmark designation of the George R. Smith College site.
Second reading.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Bill number 2022-221, an ordinance approving the historic landmark designation of the George R. Smith College site.
Final passage.
Second. Roll call, please.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
Hiller?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes.
The second one is an ordinance granting a change in zoning classification from CO non-retail to R1 single-family dwelling on certain property located at 2006 West 14th Street in the city of Sedalia, Missouri, in accordance with Chapter 64 zoning of the City Code of the city of Sedalia, Missouri. Whereas the city received an application from Mildred L. Walker, trustee, Kenneth R. and Mildred Walker, to rezone certain property within the city limit from District CO non-retail rezoning application to R1 single-family dwelling.
Any council discussion regarding the ordinance? Call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-222, an ordinance granting a change in zoning classification from C0 non-retail to R1 single-family dwelling on certain property located at 2006 West 14th Street in the city of Sedalia, Missouri, in accordance with Chapter 64 zoning of the City Code of the city of Sedalia, Missouri.
Second reading.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-222, an ordinance granting a change in zoning classification from C0 non-retail to R1 single-family dwelling on certain property located at 2006 West 14th Street in the city of Sedalia, Missouri, in accordance with Chapter 64 zoning of the City Code of the city of Sedalia, Missouri.
Final passage.
Roll call, please.
Bogus?
Yes.
Hiller?
Yes.
Cross,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Bliss,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Oldham,
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
And the third one is an ordinance approving and accepting historic preservation grant and financial assistance agreement by and between the city of Sedalia, Missouri, and Missouri Department of Natural Resources for the West Central Sedalia Historic District Survey. And they will, grant us $50,000 with the city matching $50,000, up to $8,369 in personnel and supply cost in-kind expenses for the West Central Sedalia Historic District Survey. That's all I have.
Any council discussion regarding the ordinance? Having heard none, call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-223, an ordinance approving and accepting a historic preservation grant and financial assistance agreement by and between the city of Sedalia, Missouri, and Missouri Department of Natural Resources for the West Central Sedalia Historic District Reconnaissance Survey.
Second reading.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Bill number 2022-223, an ordinance approving and accepting historic preservation grant and financial assistance agreement by and between the city of Sedalia, Missouri, and Missouri Department of Natural Resources for the West Central Sedalia Historic District Reconnaissance Survey.
Final passage.
Second. Roll call, please.
Hiller,
Yes.
Cross,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Bliss,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Oldham,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Bogus.
Yes.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Cross. Up next, we have other business. We have the acceptance of resignations. Call for the reading of the resignation.
We have a resignation from the Zoning Board of Adjustment, Kevin Wade, effective immediately.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the appointments. Call for the reading of the appointments.
We actually have 4 appointments tonight to members of the City Council, from Mayor Andrew Dawson regarding new appointments to the Bothell Regional Health Center Board of Trustees, Dr. Gregory Doak, completing Stafford Swearingen term ending June 2023, effective 1/1 of 2023, John Cady, completing our Wilda Pools term ending June 2025, Jolynn Turley, term ending June 2026, and Dr. Michael Murders, term ending June of 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Now we have the liquor licenses. Call for the reading of the liquor licenses.
We have 1 new license and 2 renewals. New license for Haley Newton, doing business at Sedalia Lions Club, P.O. Box 1085. A picnic license for Downtown Sedalia Pub Crawl on March 18th, 2023, from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. And renewals for Adam McMillan, doing business as Walmart Store number 219 at 3201 West Broadway, for packaged liquor and Sunday sales. And Mary Jane Stewart, doing business as American Legion Post number 642 at 2016 West Main, for Sunday sales.
Motion to approve in block.
Second. All in favor? All opposed? Have any miscellaneous items from the city council or city administrator?
Don't say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Might take a minute to remember Paul Bennett. He passed away. He was a member of American Legion Post 642. He was always there putting together the events that they had for the American Legion, and he will be missed. Any miscellaneous or any good and welfare items from the audience? Anybody want to come up and address council?
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kathleen Boswell, and I live at 312 South Sneed, at least for a few more minutes. I came to the meeting tonight just to see if a certain topic was going to be discussed, and I was sitting here and it suddenly dawned on me, by the next council meeting, I'm not going to be a resident of Sedalia. My husband and I are building a new house just on the south edge of Sedalia, kind of right behind the Elm Hills Golf Course, where he's had his business. And the house I've lived in, 312 Sneed, my parents have owned since 1961. So it's a little hard to give up a childhood home and stuff. But anyway, we're real excited to have a forever home that's sort of all on one level, going to be handicapped accessible and all that stuff. But I had some fond memories of when I was on the city council, and I was thinking about all the things that, oh yeah, I might be on that committee. Nope, I'm not going to be a resident anymore. I can't. So anyway, not really goodbye, but sort of, yeah, goodbye. I'll be a county resident only now. So anyway, thank you all for your service and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, and you're welcome to come down and visit us anytime, Kathleen,
Oh,
no
yeah.
matter where you live.
You know, we could probably annex that, Kathleen. We could probably annex that property.
Well, I think the little I did
I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
You're pretty close.
We have any, are we good on the, closed door session?
Yeah, we're good. We don't need to.
Yeah, we don't have any closed door session items, so there's no need to adjourn to closed door session. Wow. So I will entertain
Is
a,
that like the Christmas present?
That's happened twice.
Merry Christmas. Right. But I will entertain a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting.
Well, yeah, thank you for the cookies. Yeah, the people that brought, that was very nice.
Thank you.
I don't think he baked them, but so I'll thank you probably. He helped, good.
Stay out of the way.
Yeah.
All right, so, motion to adjourn.
Second. Yay, wow, I don't think, I can't remember the last time that happened. Good job. Went right out of that. I'll buy you, Christmas, hydration there.